Hi, everyone. Come on in, come on in. Welcome. Who do we have so far this evening? Look, we have a couple people. Harlot's here, Cuff You, Lucy Day, New Orleans. Who else? Andrea, Explore Core. Oh my gosh, my family friends are here. I love this. Hey, you guys. Tonight should be interesting. We'll see what happens. But um, I'm going to be brave and we're going to try the call in thing. We'll see how it goes. Okay. But good to see you guys. So I'm going to give it a second, I guess, why people are coming in. But there's like a few things that I've done since we've last talked. So I want to make sure that I fill everybody in. I went on like a deep dive of Dee Dee Blanchard because the last time we were together, I feel like it was Dee Dee that I wanted to know more about. And let me just start out by saying, and I'm sure I'm going to have to repeat this a few times tonight. I'm probably preaching to the choir right now, but I always want to make sure that I say that this is not, um, this has nothing to do with her ultimate death, right? So I'm talking more about life and the patterns and abnormal behavior and even abnormal interpersonal relationships that we see here. And a big part of this is one, because, I said last night I feel duped. I would say I feel partially duped because the more I learn today, and I learned this stuff through, and I'll share everything. I have a few things, like a few clips that I want to show you before we do any type of call in, just to see, what you guys are thinking. But, and just to show you like a few, like where I'm coming from, because I have a feeling this is not going to be so popular. But again, I have to have integrity, right? And I have to be true to myself. So I wouldn't be true to myself if I wasn't honest. And by honest, I'm just saying that, and again, this has nothing to do with Dee Dee, right? Or her ultimate passing. I'm talking about their relationship during life and how did things get to the point that they got to. And, what role did Gypsy really play in this? And I think two things could be true at the same time. I think my gut that they're dancing together, meaning that both played a role in their dysfunctional relationship. I think I have to stay true to myself. That I'm just feeling that even more now that I've done some digging up. And please, I hope nobody. I actually, you know what? I got to stop caring so much, only because if I ever want my channel to, I don't want people to be. I just want to believe in what I believe in, and hopefully, we're all grown up enough that we could all have differences of opinion. We're all going to have differences of opinion at some point. So hopefully everybody just treats each other with dignity and respect. And I am going to do this call in, but we do have to have like ground rules, right? So we're going to be trauma informed. We're not going to do graphic details about things, because that's another thing. I got demonetized last night. So, and not demonetize my channel, like just that one video, but it's okay. But it's like, it doesn't hurt my channel. It's just, I don't get, well, I guess it sucks in a way that, you don't get monetized on that particular video. So there are a few things that I have to make sure. So please, in chat, just make sure that if you're like using words, like, again, I never thought I'd be this person, but watch some of the words and like maybe like instead of, for example, you know, say corn instead of the other thing, or rugs, like stuff like that. Like, unfortunately, we have to play to that. I'm like, no wonder why so many people go over to Patreon, right? Because apparently you could say whatever you want over there. You made it from the start. You definitely did. I didn't even start yet. We're still saying hello. So you definitely made it from the start. Hi, Tony. Hi, Joanne. Oh, I'm so excited. The whole gang's here. Well, almost the whole gang. But they're still coming in. We're good. Okay, so make sure I don't have lipstick on my teeth. Okay, so this is the deal. We're focusing in on mom and daughter relationship and their upbringing environment tonight. That's going to be where, Like, I want to make sure that I stay focused in on certain topics because we are doing a deep dive of this whole case. So, just meaning that there's going to be multiple live streams about it. So, and there's so many topics that the only way I'm going to be able to make sense of this or make it all make sense is if I stay on topics with, like, pick certain topics and try to stay on topic just for that one live and then the next live. And again, I'm always open to things. If anybody has something that you really want to focus in on the next one, just let me know and we can make that happen, right? So for tonight, again, I want to look at the like family systems because that's where I feel most comfortable. And I know I always talk about identity and attachment, but it literally always goes back to those two things for me. So identity here is big, right? You know what else is big, you guys? Some of you are new to the channel, and I am so glad to have you. You're going to see, you guys, and the people that have been here for a while already know this. This is another, I thought about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is another case of familicide. Like, why is every case that we do, I feel like familicide in some sort? Love you, babe. Good night. Why is every case that we do familicide, you guys, or like filicide or, one of the family oriented atrocities like this? Now, I will say that we usually see it the opposite way. So we usually see where the parent takes the life of the child and or the spouse. Here, we're seeing it different in the sense of the kid, I don't even have to say alleged because she went to jail for conspiring to end her mother's life. So I want to show you guys a few things, and then we're going to do open. You could call it open panel. You could call it. This is the thing, though. I guess it would be different than open panel. I feel better doing like conversations, like a phone call type thing. So it's still the same thing. I'm going to give you a link, and you're going to use the link to come up and talk. But I do kind of want to keep them under a reasonable time. So even if it's like, 10 minutes, like it doesn't have to be like 2 minutes, but I want to make sure that it's not like, I don't want to take the whole time with just one person because then other people are less likely statistically to then want to call in. So I just want to make sure that I give everybody a platform. And then I have other things that we could do in case somebody just decides, even though everybody said last night that you would all be open to, that's why I'm kind of doing it this way tonight. So hopefully people will have the courage and, you don't have to show your face, but if you want, you could come up and talk. And if, of course, obviously the rule that if anybody's like cursing and not cursing, I don't mean that. I mean like cursing at me. If you're come up and you're like, F you, like, I'm obviously going to drop that. The normal rules, you guys, we're all adults here. So let's do this. You're speaking in code. That's so funny. But Explore Core, the thing is that everybody here kind of knows your code. Oh my gosh, Army Vet's here. What is up, Army Vet 420? Oh, look at you, 420. I just realized that it said that. Love that number. Thanks for the welcome. Hi, Sue. Welcome. Welcome, you guys. Come on in. Hopefully I caught everybody so far. I think I did. I wonder where is Travis? Travis, if you're listening, where the hell are you, Travis? Come join us. Tell us you're listening. That's right. You know who else? There's a few people actually, like dads that used to always join the replay. So if you were one of those dads before, let us know what you've been doing. I think about all you guys. Let's see what's going on. He's been MIA. I miss it. I'm right. So what's happening? And hopefully truth comes on at some point. Okay. Sorry about that. So hopefully tonight we're going to separate confirmed information from like inference or speculation, right? If you're going to call in, maybe you could bring one point and one question. That might be a cool thing. Like, bring a comment and a question if you have it. Um, and we'll see what happens, right? So I figured let's try to keep it to the things that I was saying. So even if we talk about things like their control and dependency, so um, things like rewards and punishments would be how control and dependency. So things like that, identity, right, and role conditioning. Because, and I don't want to sound too like I'm doing a class right now. So I almost said Erickson's identity versus role confusion, but I'm not in class. So this would be more like role conditioning, just meaning using rewards and punishments to shape who we are. And that's how all of our personalities um, are formed for the most part. So, and just think about it, right? Depending on how you grew up, I was talking to my husband about this today. My husband's even like very outgoing, but even he said that he doesn't think that he would be able to just jump on a live and, as the host and just start talking to people. Like he's like, I don't know that I'd be able to do that. And I just take it for granted that this is easy for me to do. And that not only is it easy, I enjoy it. I like look forward to coming to talk with everyone. And I've been doing this for so long that I feel like I'm speaking to you, the person, on the other side of this camera. By the way, you look really good tonight. How about that one? Army vet's looking good. There you go. You all are. So I just want to make sure that everybody treats each other with dignity and respect, that we talk about Dee Dee and Gypsy and we look at their relationship. And I want to show you guys, we're going to start out tonight by looking at, and I already did do this. I'm sure that Cuff You or Harlot will be a gem and can put them, hold on, let me show you first. Can put their channel. If you could see, I already did it up there and I'm already subscribed. So this is Crime Weekly. Oh, how about you guys can't see it yet? Sorry. This is Crime Weekly. Stephanie and oh my gosh, why can't I remember his name? Forgive me. Oh my God, it's on the tip of my tongue. You guys tell me if you remember. It'll come to me in a second. But anyway, so I was looking at a lot of videos today. It wasn't just theirs. However, when I came upon their videos, they like talked to me in a way that I really was, I felt like I was identifying with the things that they were saying in a lot of the ways. So what I did was I just have like two different things here. There was actually one other one that I was looking for. I'm trying to figure out how to do this to where I could be not right there. Here, I'm just going to do this one. Okay. Or no, because then you're in the chat. Crap. Hold on. We'll do this one. This is the one I usually. All right. That way you guys could see her better. So Stephanie and somebody's going to tell me his name. I know they are. Do you guys know this? You keep getting distracted watching the plant instead of, oh, well, then maybe that was a good thing. No, I'm kidding. So hold on. I have something I could do for that because that's not what I want. We do not want distractions. This is an important topic, and I need all of you to pay attention because I need all of your input. So I'm going to change this real quick. It only takes a second. And hopefully this next one. Oh, I'll put on the one that I had on before. It's like, hold on. I think nobody like really says anything like negative about that one. So I'll put this one on. Here we go. All right, there we go. It's on. So this is the one that I do sometimes. And look, I put this one on because it kind of matches Stephanie's motif back here. So is that better? I'm not trying to, give anybody a headache. So, okay, so you guys, this is Crime Weekly. Okay, this is Crime Weekly. And this is Stephanie and I still don't remember his name. Derek. Oh, thank you. Stephanie and Derek. Thank you. You love Stephanie Harlow and Crime Weekly, Cuff You. I think they're amazing, right? So you thought there was a ghost. Oh my gosh, God forbid. But they did a great job on this. So what they did was first they do a Gypsy Rose series, but then they go back and do a Dee Dee series. Now I'm dying to know what they think And like, so like this video, if you look at it, it's a year old. So, and they were like way on point back then. Like, I really do think that they did a really good job of looking into it. And if you watch from like one of their first videos, Stephanie talks literally, I felt like she literally was talking to me because she talks about how she starts out by thinking that, Gypsy is a victim of Munchausen, da 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 da, da, factitious disorder, imposed on another, so on and so forth. Okay, just like most of us did. But that after she started digging into it more, the more she dug into it, the more she started to question it. Then apparently, you guys, this isn't new, all of this stuff. Like, I think I thought that because of the videos that just came out, that this is the first time that people started to question her role in this, like Gypsy's role. I didn't realize that even as of a year ago, that there were so many people that had already been questioning Gypsy. So for that, I don't know where the hell I've been, right? So I'm so glad that I finally caught up, but not caught up yet, but you know what I mean. Oh, and I also watched the other lady that you guys said. She's awesome. I loved it. Oh my gosh. Becca, or you guys will know. But she was awesome. And I even wrote in one of her comments that people in my chat were saying that we were alive together. So hopefully she'll say it and we'll see what happens, right? You never know. So back to Stephanie real quick. This part that I want to show you guys. This is, well, just listen.
For the answers
we're gonna go
here.
through it.
So this is actually, let me set this up. So in this part, they're talking, and the trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. What they're talking about, you guys, and I should have actually had the first one first. That was actually not so intelligent of me. Hold on, maybe I could get to it because that might make more sense. So what they talk about is they go into Dee Dee's past, and they didn't just like guess or use things that they saw just from a documentary like I did. They didn't do those things. They actually went back and spoke with many people. There's one lady, I can't think of her name right now, but they'll say it on there. And she's supposedly like an expert on the case. You guys are probably like, who is this woman? Oh my gosh, if you guys said it, I would know it right off the top of my head. I'm like, oh, what is her name? It'll come to me in a minute, you guys. So she was talking about, I wanted to know what was happening. Remember last night I said, what was the relationship between Dee Dee and the dad? I really wanted to know that. Then I wanted to know, how old was Gypsy when he leaves? So I got both answers when I did. Oh, no. I got both answers when I did this. You guys, it like made it, I swear, everything I did just made like validate it more for me that, hold on, let me share this one instead. That there he goes. Hi Derek. Everybody make sure you go over and subscribe to them. I'm already subscribed if you guys see. So this is the thing. They went back and looked, and they even spoke to Dee Dee's dad. So like they spoke to many people, and the woman's name is on the tip of my tongue. And I'm afraid that if I go away from where I am on my tab, that I'm going to lose where I am on the tab. You know what I mean? But I can, right after that, I can skip ahead because I know where the woman comes in. So I could show you guys who she is. Anyway, until we get to that, my point being is that they do a real deep dive, like these two. They did their due diligence, in my opinion. When they went back to look at Dee Dee's upbringing, they actually found some things that I was a little bit surprised about, but that makes sense. Do you remember we talked about entitlement last night and how sometimes entitlement can breed bad behavior, right? I even said about Mackenzie Shirilla, if you guys remember. So I'm wondering, and this is all alleged and in my opinion, I have to make sure I say that, and I'm not diagnosing anyone, you guys, but I'm wondering, did Dee Dee feel entitled in her childhood because from the stuff that I was able to find, apparently Dee Dee was the youngest of her siblings, and her siblings, I don't wanna say didn't like, but she got they felt like she got more attention from the parents and that she was paid more attention to than they were. And for example, she was the only kid that was allowed to sleep in the bed with the parents. Like the other kids said that they never did that, but she was allowed because she was not only the youngest, but she was also sick at some point. And I can't remember what it was that she was sick with. But I believe it wasn't anything that lasted long, but then the mom starts to develop the behaviors and the patterns of factitious disorder imposed on another, which was so interesting to me because if you guys look back, I said that yesterday. I said I wouldn't be surprised if we find that. I also said I wouldn't be surprised if we found some form of SUL, something in childhood with Dee Dee, Gypsy, somewhere. I think I said Dee Dee. So here, I did not really find much of that. And if anybody knows different, let me know because there was one thing that I found, but I was looking for multiple, like how they usually do in like news, where they have to find more, like two or more sources that say the same thing before they really put it forward. That's kind of like the rule that I tried to have for myself. And that one, I only had one. So unless you guys know something different, you could let me know about Dee Dee. But then with Gypsy, you guys, where did this part come from? And there was way more than two sources on this. But Gypsy, like I saw the interview clips, she apparently tells people that in her childhood, that her grandfather touched her when she was 9 years old. However, the grandfather then they go to the grandfather, like the interviewed people, and they ask him about it. And he like denies it, like vehemently denies it. Well, here he then says, ready for this? He then says, if anything, when Gypsy was 3 or 4, I had to tell her not to touch me. I was like, wait, what? Huh? Does anybody else see that as like, what? So the fact that he admits that there was inappropriate behavior, whether he's blaming her or she's blaming him, the fact that he says that this happens, but that it was the other way around, just tells me that there's probably truth to this story. And my thing is, how do you say that a 3 or 4 year old even understands what it means? And if they did try to do something like that, that would have been a red flag for me to like go tell it their doctor to see if like something else is going on that I like, do you know what I mean? Like I felt like she shouldn't know those things as a 3 or 4 year old. And if she did, like that would have been like, why didn't you say something type thing? But here, the fact that he says that was just very, very concerning. So I don't know, and I don't know that we'll ever know the truth, but she says that it happened. So then, oh, maybe that was it. Somebody said that people would say that something similar happened with Dee Dee. That's where I got that from. But you guys let me know about the Dee Dee thing. But the Gypsy thing, I saw like Gypsy say it. And again, I'm not saying that I'm taking Gypsy for, what she says for exactly, Tony. If it was 3 or 4, that had to be taught by someone, or think of like a 3 or 4 year old, like, you know, and this isn't even that normal, but like if they like, well, it is actually, but like if a little kid's like boobies or something like that's actually normal. They're just curious, but that's where it should stop. It shouldn't be like touching somebody else's private. Like that part is not normal for a 3 year old, 4 year old, 10 year old, 12 year old, 25, well, maybe 25, I don't know, but I'm just kidding. The other ones, you know what I mean? So the fact that it was even said that something happened just gave credibility to the story, in my opinion. Even if the story is, you know, embellished in some sense, the fact, like, it tells me that there's something there. So that was one thing. But let me tell you why. Another reason that I was like, oh, there's probably something to that. Look at all of this deviant sexual stuff that we see with Gypsy in these newly released videos. Other than the fact of her being wanted by other people, this is the thing, you guys. Until last night, I didn't know that there was a guy before Nick. I had no idea. What's his name, you guys? The guy before Nick? Oh, it's at the tip of my tongue. But I didn't know that she ran away. And I also didn't know that she like wrote to someone and they showed the clip where she says something along the lines of, she tells a story like when she was 17, I ran away with such and such. So like they did show that. So I couldn't believe that. I just couldn't believe that. Oh, Ryan. Or wait, isn't Ryan the one that she marries after? Who's the one that she runs away with before Nick? I didn't even realize that there was somebody until you guys told me last night. But that just says a lot to me. So that just means to me, because at one point I was thinking, okay, like, is this SEO like stuff back and forth? Is that normal, abnormal? Like she's a teenager. And then I'm like, wait, she's not a teenager. She's in her young adulthood. So then I'm like, okay, well, young adult might sex. So like I was trying to write it off a little, but I'm like, no, there's straight deviant behavior in these videos. These aren't normal, like, I miss you, like touch, like show me your boobs type thing. Like this isn't that. This is like, I'm going to obey you, my master type thing. And that is deviant sexual behavior. So in my opinion, that needs to be looked at, right? An unusual age gap for sure. Dan, that's his name. Dan. Thank you, guys. So I didn't know that Dan was a thing yesterday until last night. So now that I know that, I no longer think that maybe she was just like exploring her SEO identity, like that part of her identity. Like maybe she was being fantasy. I told you guys last night, my best and worst quality is that I play devil's advocate. But I try, right? Because I like to try to give both sides. But then after today, the thing with the grandpa, I don't know, like that kind of, in my opinion, explains some of that abnormal behavior. Or this is the thing, you guys, when you're younger, and if this happened, so the grandfather saying around 4, Gypsy says around 8. So between 4 and 8, let's just say, this is a time where your identity is a big thing here, or your attachments, your sense of bond between two people, your sense of feeling safety, feeling security, stuff like that. Her mom gets sick, right? And her mom's in the hospital, so she stays with the grandparents during that time. And from what we've been told, Dee Dee then comes home from the hospital and stays also with the grandparents. But then Gypsy like tells her mom or whatever, they wind up leaving. And I think the grandmother was, she was like dying herself. And I don't remember exactly why, but the grandmother asked her Dee Dee to leave. Does anybody know why? It's like, I can't remember completely. But 50-year-old at a motel. Oh, damn. Yeah, that was an adult. But the thing was, you guys, wasn't she an adult? Like, how old was she then? Wasn't she like 20 or something? And again, I have a 22-year-old, so I'm not necessarily saying that she's 100%. I mean, your brain's not done developing until you're 24, 25 years old. So, but adult just meaning that it wasn't like a statutory type situation, like against the law, I guess I should say. Webs of deceit. Wait, where are they at? No way. Hi. Welcome. Welcome, you guys. I'm so excited. There's so many people here. I love this. Unusual age gap, 1,000%. So let's see what Derek and Stephanie have to say real quick.
And you're starting to see a little bit behind the curtain, maybe about Dee Dee, we don't know for certain whether or not she had Gypsy to keep Rod. We don't know that.
Okay, so the dad, what he's just he this is like the end of the conversation they were just having. I wish I could show this whole thing. But seriously, for educational purposes, there was so much in this. You guys should really go back and watch it. So this is Gypsy and her dad, and I feel bad that I don't know who the little kid is. But Gypsy and her dad are here. Her dad apparently, him and Dee Dee are dating. Dee Dee, a lot of people suspect that Dee Dee got pregnant on purpose, but it takes two to tango. I also found that he was like 18 and Dee Dee was like 24 or something, which I thought was interesting because Gypsy was acting 18. Like everybody thought she was 18, or at least Nick and stuff did. And Nick was 24. So I thought that that was interesting. It was like a role reversal, if you guys see what I mean. There's just so many things that I tend to put together when it comes to family systems. The other thing I found that was interesting was that um, he winds up. So I couldn't believe this. My jaw like dropped on the floor. I was cooking for like hours today. I made like 3 or 4 pounds of chicken cutlets. I make the best chicken cutlets. They're delicious. I ate my daughters the other night. Don't tell. They were okay. But then my husband was like, "Oh, can you make them?" Because then he was craving them, so I made them. But anyway, so while I was cooking, I needed to watch something. So I started putting the stuff on. You guys, even my husband was like, "Wait, what?" So his friend, apparently, back at 18, like let's rewind, his best friend is a female named Christy. Apparently, Dee Dee doesn't want him to be friends with Christy anymore because she thinks that, like, there something inappropriate could happen. Apparently, nothing inappropriate back then happened. He then gets pregnant. You know what I mean? He gets Dee Dee pregnant and tells Christy that he's going to marry Dee Dee. And, that's what you do, whatever. But then he gets married to Dee Dee. They have Gypsy, and he realizes, I don't know, does he leave before Gypsy's born or after? Does anybody know? But apparently he realizes pretty much right away that this wasn't, for him. So he winds up leaving, and he was a fisherman, maybe, and he would go out to sea for like months at a time. So, but when he came back, him and Christy like met up again, and one thing leads to another, and she's the woman that he's still married to today, right? So I couldn't believe. I was like, "Ooh, that's crazy." Like I always tell people like, "Oh, don't be insecure about that. Like if there was something there, then like it was already meant for that. Like, whatever. Like kind of like if it's going to happen, it's going to happen regardless." So you can't always worry about that stuff because then you wind up ruining your relationship for sometimes no reason, maybe. But in this case, I was like, what are the chances, right? That he winds up going back and marrying this friend of his that Dee Dee was jealous of, in my opinion, allegedly. Okay, so to continue, let's hear what he says.
So it's speculative at best.
Kind of fast to get pregnant, though, right? Like
it is fast, but listen.
I know it happens.
It happens. It happens. My mom, love you to death, mom. My mom had me when she was 18. My brother when it was but so it's one of those mom having if that was her mindset, it does kind of set up a foundation for where this story goes according to Gypsy Rose. Maybe this is how she justifies what transpires with Gypsy over the next few years. So it's an interesting question brought up by Gypsy. How can you blame me for something that I wasn't even born for when this all started going to shit? But I do think it was an interesting question to pose. How is this my fault? And regardless of
what do you guys think about that? So, but this is the thing. So this was the only part that I was like, oh, I don't know, because this is the thing. If we see narcissistic behavior, then, and I'm just saying, if we ever, if that was ever the case, that would be a very narcissistic thing to do, is to say, how's this my fault, right? Everything's everybody else's fault. Nothing's your fault. So, it's somebody else's fault or something else's fault, or it's always somebody else's fault. But so the fact that she even poses the question at some point, and I'm not exactly sure where, but they do tell you, like, if you go watch the whole thing, they don't just pull anything out of the air. Like they have, they back everything up with receipts. So I thought that was interesting that she would even pose the question, how is this my fault?
whether Dee Dee has a justified reason for it. Spoiler alert, she doesn't. In her mind, if it's justified, it may also justify her actions and behaviors down the road. That's why I bring it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it might show some resentment, which
absolutely, yeah.
When you ask the question, like, how could you do this to your child?
Yeah, well, there you go. That's how.
Right. If you resent them, if you think you lost, the love of your life,
yeah, if you're blaming
them, yeah,
you want to punish them.
So that would also suggest that Dee Dee had narcissistic tendencies as well, or some part of her personality that she was able to manipulate and lie to get things that she wanted. And again, this is just allegedly and from the things that I've seen. And when I'm saying things that I've seen, I'm talking about her and father and siblings. I guess it's one thing, like if you have a sibling that doesn't like you, they might say things about you, maybe even, but apparently this is like all of her siblings, her stepmom, her dad, like neighbors, in-laws, like it was just so many people. Like it was too much to ignore. What are you guys are saying over here? What are you guys saying? Let's see. She was technically an adult. Yep. That was her half brother, Dylan. Thank you. Rod was 17. Wow. I don't like that she is or could ever be you don't feel like she is or could ever be an adult mentally. So when you say that, stunted, do you mean do you mean more of like an arrested development? Because I could see that, like failure to thrive type thing. Because I could see what you mean by that. You like chicken cutlets? Mine are so good. You have no idea. I get the thinly sliced. Oh, look who's here. Yay. Bodisha. She and Dee Dee work together. That's what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I'm thinking. And I said last night, two dance together, and that's what I meant. So I think, and like I said, a lot of people said that, Gypsy, it was just a bad seed. And although that is something that can happen, right? It's more common for those personality characteristics to develop as a part of environment or as a reaction to the environment, if that makes sense. So to me, just like we said earlier, what are the chances that Gypsy just makes up out of thin air? The grandfather just says out of thin air that at 3 years old, he had to tell her not to touch him. I was like, wait, what, sir? I was like, what? So I thought that was strange. And again, that doesn't mean that, I am not a Gypsy sympathizer. So let me just say that. I'm just looking at human behavior. And it also helps me because when I start to figure these things out and I validate my initial hypothesis of the situation, it just makes me feel like even more confident when I do encounter a situation that I then use my analytic ability to evaluate.
You're like, man, I got pregnant with you to keep him, and I ended up losing him because of you. Like, what are the odds, Yeah, well, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, she was born on July 27th, 1991 in Golden Meadow, Louisiana, and reportedly, she was a cute and completely healthy baby in Rod's.
You guys, is this Dee Dee? Look at Dee Dee. Wow. Look at Dee Dee. Look, she's got her wedding band on. Her nails are done. She looks like so pretty and happy. So sometimes, I don't know if I just always assumed that Dee Dee was like me, big bone type thing, Brianna. But it doesn't look like that. And she just had a baby here. That's interesting. I wonder if him leaving played a role in the development of weight gain. And again, this is coming from a person who's had difficulties, up and down, up and down, up and down my whole life.
Said that as soon as he saw her, he knew she was his because Gypsy looked just like him. But at just 3 months old, Gypsy was diagnosed with sleep apnea after her mother.
There you go. We talked about that last night. So she was diagnosed with sleep apnea.
brought her to the doctor because she would stop breathing at night. And it also appears that Gypsy was born with something called strabismus in her right eye, also known as hypertropia or crossed eyes. Strabismus is a misalignment of the eyes, which causes one eye to deviate inward towards the nose or outward, while the other remains focused.
Now, so I think we could all agree, right, that these are real disorders that, I couldn't believe the sleep apnea thing last night. Not that I couldn't believe it. I believed it. I just couldn't, I was like, oh gosh, like a kid that young gets diagnosed with sleep apnea. Like it didn't even seem like a thing that would even occur to me, but there's medical reasoning to believe that there was. But look at Dee Dee over here. And again, this is not body shaming in any way. My point here just being that sometimes, and I'll be completely disclose here because I have before, I had an eating disorder from 13 to 21 and it was bad. I was inpatient 6 or 7 times. It was really, really bad. So this is coming from somebody that struggled with weight. This just tells me, do you guys remember last night when I said that I looked at a picture of the house and it was so disorganized? But when you open the one medicine closet, everything was completely organized. And I said to me that said to me that was the one thing that Dee Dee felt like she had control over, which made me wonder if Gypsy leaves or, whatever the case. Because to me, I know that she was sick and that she might have wanted, Gypsy to leave, but I can't imagine that she really wanted Gypsy to leave. I don't know. I feel like she's so dependent on her and vice versa. If you guys remember, even Gypsy said, my mom said, maybe when I'm 21 that I could date. She said, but it doesn't matter if I'm 21 or 50 if I'm not mentally ready to date. So I felt like that was Dee Dee, her way of being you're not ready yet, even when she's 30 type thing. So, and again, none of this means that any of what happened at the end should have happened. I'm just talking about the dynamics here as far as mother-daughter. Getting back to this, I'm wondering if feeling out of control, eating disorders are a disorder of control. So when you're, especially in your younger years or your young adult years, we often don't have control of a whole lot yet in our lives. So, but we do control some things. We control things maybe you control what you're wearing today, or you control what you say to people. You control what you put in your mouth, things like that. But beyond that, many people in this age range don't have a whole lot of control. They still live under their parents' roof. Their parents ultimately tell them if they could go out tonight type thing. So what I'm saying is that eating disorders often are, they are a disorder of control. Not often. They're a disorder of control, I promise you. So when the kid feels out of control in their environment, they gain control in one of the only things that they have control over, what they put in their mouth, right? So eating disorders are less about the look. I was less worried. Eventually, when I looked in the mirror, I had body dysmorphia and stuff, and I saw myself different. So eventually that mattered. But at first, it was more about a control thing. So the weight thing comes into play. But at first, it's more about feeling out of control. Why does a kid feel out of control? Well, they don't usually just feel out of control for no reason. Usually there's a parent that is very controlling, who maybe at times feels out of control in their own lives. And one of the things that they have control over is their children. So this parent will often create an attachment or a strong emotional bond to at least one of the children, usually the one that is most emotional, or what people might have called as sensitive, right? So if you've ever been called, oh, you're too sensitive, you might be this person. So, and this is coming from the person that was myself. But you could see how you could use, and let's be honest, so this happens with everything from narcissistic parents to parents that have factitious disorder and many things in between. So in this case, when that parent feels out of control in their own lives, they gain control by gaining control of their child's life. This winds up forming what we call an enmeshment, where this is one person, this is the other. You should stand next to each other. Like you shouldn't, go in each other's space because you're both individuals. This is like this. It's literally, you don't know where one person starts and the other one ends. It's just complete enmeshment. And it's usually, it looks like, let's say you're 21 years old and somebody asks you a question and you're there with that parent that you're enmeshed with and you look up at your parent before you ask. That's something you do when you're a child, right? That's something you expect of a 6-year-old or 5-year-old to look at you like, can I have candy? And then you look up at the parent, like, am I allowed? That's something you see there. You don't usually see this in like an adult relationship with a parent. When you do see this or when there is enmeshment that occurs, and I don't know if there was enmeshment here, I really don't know, but I see signs of control here or the feeling of being out of control. I think Dee Dee, in my opinion, allegedly felt very out of control in many areas of her life, including her love life. She had no control over keeping Gypsy's dad. I'm sure she would have loved for him to stay, right? But she probably felt abandoned by him. And who knows if she made Gypsy feel abandoned by him or if Gypsy just felt abandoned by him all on her own, right? So, and this is the thing, when we're young and we're building these attachments and these bonds or lack thereof, we take that with us into our adulthood. If you are a kid and you don't trust one or both of your parents, when you get older, you might have a hard time trusting somebody that asked you out to dinner. Do you know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't they screw you over if your parents could, type thing, or why wouldn't they exploit you if your parents could? So, and most of the time when these things happen, the kid grows up and realizes that they need to put stronger boundaries. And if boundaries are applied, most of the time, if consistency occurs and the person can be strong and feel like they're confident about the boundaries, that they can keep whatever boundary it is they set, and then they keep those boundaries, it makes it harder for that person that is like sucking the life out of them, if you will. But and what do we call this? A narcissistic supply. So it's hard for them then to fill up. Think of it as gas tanks. It's hard for that person to then supply that gas tank to where you fill it up. So if you have boundaries and you're like, no, my gas cap's on, I'm not letting you fill up my gas tank type thing. And again, we're talking metaphorically, then it makes it harder to do so. And usually that person will then find other people that will let them fill up their gas tank. And again, metaphorically, just meaning their supply of feeling like they mean something, like they have a purpose. And I felt like Gypsy gave Dee Dee an identity. And I feel like it gave her an identity that she was longing for. So not a bad identity. And I think that, people have not testified like in court, testified like in, interviews and stuff, that Dee Dee very much lied and manipulated her whole life. And if that's true, I promise you that's where Gypsy probably develops it, right? So, and again, none of this makes what happens at the end okay. And that none of that is. Like, I don't feel that way about any of that. But what I do feel is that there's so much going on here that I think influenced not only Dee Dee, but also Gypsy. What do you guys think as far as the dad's role? Like, we just, and I'm going to go back and play a little bit more of this, but tell me what you think about dad in this situation. And again, what is it? Hindsight is 2020. So I'm not saying blame dad. I mean, dad's relationship. Like, I haven't been able, like, I didn't do a deep dive into that. Like, does anybody know? Does dad pay child support the whole time? Does he not? Does he see her often? Does he not? When he does see her, does Dee Dee like insist that she's there too? Like, I'm just wondering, because I can only imagine that she would want to tag along to make sure that Gypsy didn't reveal anything or say anything that would make him question anything, because he thought that Dee Dee was doing a great job at being a mom, and that probably meant a lot to her.
according to Dr. Robert Steele, and we're going to talk about him more, okay? And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's very hard to chronologically organize this, but Dr. Robert Steele would not become Gypsy's pediatrician until she was 15 years old. And we're talking about right now, she's about 3 months old. But later, he would say that this condition, the strabismus, can sometimes cause blindness. And Dr. Steele believes that it may have been this diagnosis, this early diagnosis, that could have been Dee Dee Blanchard's trigger for her Munchausen by proxy. Dr. Steele said, quote, when you look at Munchausen by proxy, you often see that there was an encounter to address a real need with the child. But in doing so, Dee Dee gained attention from having a child that could go blind. This could have been the start of Dee Dee's Munchausen by proxy, end quote.
And again, this is all allegedly and speculating. But I mean, that's what the doctor was thinking. There was another part that I wanted you guys to see. And I think I thought when I saw the quote, I'm hoping that this one.
Choice was made for Gypsy to be homeschooled. But according to many members of Dee Dee's own family, there was really no schooling happening. Dee Dee basically just stopped sending Gypsy Rose to school, and the young girl was allowed to do whatever she wanted during the day. And many of her days were spent hanging out and playing with her grandfather, Claude. Now, when Gypsy was about 5 years old, she and Claude got into an accident on his motorcycle. She was fine, but according to Gypsy, her mother made a big deal out of it and then used the accident as an excuse to come up with new ailments that her daughter suffered from. Quote, my mom turned it into a bigger event than it actually was. My knee and my legs got scraped. My leg was put in a brace. Then one day my mother walked into the room and she had a wheelchair with her and very bluntly told me to use the wheelchair. I didn't understand her reasoning, but I trusted her. She was my best friend and I loved her, and I never questioned as a child.
So this is my thing here, you guys, is that like, and we know that Gypsy, she even admits to being a liar in many areas, right? But I could actually see this part. Like, as a kid, I didn't question my parents ever. You know what I mean? Like, who does? Your parent tells you to do something, and you know, if my mom, because I tried to think about it, and I'm like, if my mom gave me a wheelchair and let's say I just, you know, the same thing happens, but I know that my legs are feeling better, but my mom told me that I need to use the wheelchair, I don't even know why I would question why. I would just, and if I said why, and she said, because, you know, the doctor thing or whatever, you know, that would have been good enough for me. I wouldn't have questioned it beyond that. So this is what I mean by things start out one way and then often continue for another.
End quote. Now, Gypsy talks about how at first the wheelchair was kind of a fun thing. You know, she was like playing around in it for a week. She learned how to do wheelies and she was just having a good time. But then after that week, when there was like no end in sight, where she's like, when can I get out of this wheelchair? And Dee Dee's just like, you know, you need this wheelchair. And Gypsy's like, I do. I don't think I do. You know, when the weeks turned into months, it was not really a fun or new thing anymore. And Gypsy said, quote, I was fully aware that I could walk, but I always craved her attention and I was afraid of losing it. End quote.
Okay, so there you go. What would you be losing here? Control, right? Losing, you know, as long as she continues to stay in the wheelchair and just not question it, she doesn't risk losing that emotional attachment that she gains from mom. And this is, I believe, before any financial like things started to come in.
Gypsy also talks about the mental and emotional abuse that went along with the medical abuse. And she said these mind games caused her to become very dependent on her mother's attention and approval. Gypsy said, quote, if there were things I would do that she didn't like, she would favor the cat over me. She would love on the cat and then just look at me with a snarl. End quote.
So let's be honest. How many times, and you could be like, no, you're crazy. This doesn't happen in my life. But have you ever just even joking around, like sometimes with Thor, I'll give you an example. If like one of my kids did something, and again, this would be different in the sense that I would just be kidding, but I might be like, come here, Thor. I know you love me. Like, at least you love me. Like, I'm going to put you in the will and take Ava out. But I'd literally be joking, obviously. But again, I thought about it and I'm like, I'm joking, but there's got to be parents out there that do that either aren't joking or are joking and the kid doesn't know that they're joking. So it was funny because I asked both of my kids, I'm like, if I ever said something like that, you know, I was just joking, right? And they were like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. I was like, I don't want, yeah. And they were like, Mom,
so now, from the age of about 5 years old, Gypsy Rose is relegated to a wheelchair, even though she was quite capable of walking. And this was a fact that everyone in Dee Dee's family seemed to be aware of. Dee Dee's older brother, Evans, said, quote, Dee Dee was smart. She was a nurse's assistant, and she would look up the disease and kind of say, hey, maybe Gypsy does have that, but we would never see it. We would hear it through what Dee Dee was telling us, end quote. Evan also tells a story about a birthday party. So
what do you guys think about that?
There's a bunch of kids outside jumping on a trampoline, and Gypsy's sadly sitting in her wheelchair, and she's like, hey, can I jump on the trampoline? And they were like, absolutely, yeah. Go on and jump on the trampoline. Dee Dee's not there, right? She's not home. So for a while, Gypsy bounced on that trampoline like a normal kid, laughing and playing with her peers, but then Dee Dee pulled up.
Could you imagine?
And Gypsy completely changed. Evans Petrie said, quote, she dropped like a wet rag. And it's like, what happened? Dee Dee came out and was pissed. She was screaming, don't you know she's crippled? Dee Dee pulled her off the trampoline, put her in her wheelchair, and rolled her into the house for the rest of the day. And
okay, so these are the stories that were making me think like, wow, like, could you imagine this? Like, what do you guys think about this? That's the problem, misbehaving. Anything out over 3 months ago continues the old narrative. I see. So you guys are, see, I'm not even looking at anything as a narrative. This to me is like Gypsy's words. So if I'm going to look at Gypsy's words now, I'm looking at her words from before too. And same thing. So, and her siblings never came out and said that their words are any different. I think the thing that was different for me in the past few months is all of this evidence that we're seeing that Gypsy lied and manipulated to all of us. And I think that that's the big problem here. No, it was Gypsy losing attention, had nothing to do with Dee Dee's control. I don't know what you mean by that. Another lie told by Gypsy. If so, how did she get this wheelchair? I thought you have to, no, you don't. My daughter, Gianna. So you can, my daughter, Gianna, thank God. My husband, he's a union iron worker, and we have amazing insurance. So Gianna did get, it did go through our insurance. However, one of her peer sibling needed a wheelchair, and the insurance was going to charge her like $900. And this family did not just have $900. So they were like, people were talking about doing like a fundraiser. And my daughter came home and told me, and she's like, Mom, can I like give them my old wheelchair? And I was like, oh my God, yes. So I know for a fact that not everybody's insurance pays for a wheelchair. And you can, you know, you could even, I found out you could even go to like certain, what are they called? Like Habitat for Humanity type thing. And you could get old things there, not old, you know what I mean? Like somebody's old, if you have an extra wheelchair, you could take it there and they will, you know, resell it for $20 or whatever the case may be. So the fact of the wheelchair, that part isn't really. Yes. Oh, wait, hold on. Explore course. She had surgery. Asked Dr. V to play the video where GRB explains it. Can you do me a favor, Misbehaving? And I believe I have it set tonight where you could drop the link yourself in chat. And if you do so, I'll just click on it. I'll trust that you're not sending me like a virus. I have faith in you. Some people are probably thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going to do that. But that's why I said that.
To quote.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
so here we go. We're starting to get into this.
Claude molested her when she was living with him in the year 2000.
All right, here we go.
That feeding tubes are like a go-to way for parents to control their children because it gives them.
All right,
he gets married a year after, and apparently Dee Dee was really mad about this. She did not like it, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But at this point, they're in New Orleans. Dee Dee says Gypsy has leukemia, and because of the leukemia, and apparently because, you know, according to Dee Dee, she told the doctors that Gypsy was afraid of food and wasn't eating. Dee Dee suggested that Gypsy have an operation to have a feeding tube put in because she was losing weight. She wasn't at the right weight she needed to be. She wasn't eating, and Dee Dee felt that.
Now, let me pick up for Dee Dee here. I don't know that even if I was at the doctor and I said to my doctor, like, my daughter's not eating. Can you put in a feeding tube? Like, I would think that that's not like my doctor wouldn't just be like, sure, let's schedule it for next Monday. Like, I'm assuming that the doctor would have to find it medically necessary. Right? So let me see what else these are saying. All right. I have heard. Wait, I have a hard time believing that she'd be able to convince Dee Dee that she couldn't walk for years. Harlot, this is what I'm thinking too. So let me tell you guys, it's one thing to say that she embellished this. In my opinion, that is absolutely possible. Could she have made it to where, and let me be honest, I don't know if you guys have ever, if somebody's ever broken a leg or whatever, when you don't use that limb, you have to like rebuild it after, because you start to like, it's like use it or lose it type thing. So yeah, I love her glasses too. But you know, sitting in the wheelchair for that long could also make your legs even weaker. But the fact is, if she was jumping on the trampoline, and this is like other people telling these stories and multiple people remember these same stories, then she had to know just there that she could jump. Do you know what I mean? And like her reaction wasn't like, oh my gosh, be careful, don't jump too hard, or like, maybe sit on your butt for a little, or it was, she like got mad and was like, don't you know she's, so I don't know. Exactly. Your daughter's doctor would find out before putting in a feeding tube. That's what I'm thinking. Let's see. I wonder if a certified nursing assistant can issue a prescription for mobility equipment. I don't know if they can issue it, but maybe they can, unless this is what you mean. I'm not a medical assistant, so you could very well mean what I'm about to say. But you mean like suggest it, and then the doctor or the nurse practitioner or something writes the script? I'm sure that, is, because there's a lot of people that their job is to go out to different patients' like houses, or meet them at appointments and try to help them with even understanding the things that they may need. The family accused Dee Dee of trying to poison her. Oh, yes. That was one of the things that I was trying to find here. I couldn't believe it. So, yes, they did. Yes, she was. Ready for this one? Let me go back to this. And
this was the best option. Now, of course, we do know, and any expert on Munchausen by proxy or even child abuse will tell you that feeding tubes are like a go-to way for parents to control their children, because it gives them complete control. Gives them complete control of when they eat, how often they eat, what they're eating, and not only that, but medications and everything. You could technically starve your child 4 days at a time. Yeah. And or you could make sure that they're being rewarded for going along with what you want by feeding them. So the feeding tube is a hallmark of Munchausen by proxy, allegedly, according to the experts. But according to Claude Petrie, who is Dee Dee's father and Gypsy's grandfather, while Gypsy was living with him and Dee Dee was recovering in the hospital, Gypsy didn't need no feeding tube. He said she sat up at the dinner table with everyone else and ate whatever.
What do you think about that, you guys? So the grandparents say that while Dee Dee was in the hospital and that Gypsy was staying with them, that she did not need that feeding tube, that she ate with everybody else.
Everyone else was eating French fries, spaghetti, you have it, you name it. She was fine, and she played, and she was fine. She didn't seem like a sick little girl. But Gypsy also claims that this is when her grandfather, Claude, molested her when she was living with him in the year 2000 when she was 9 years old. She said, quote, "My grandpa would take me out of my wheelchair and bring me into a closet or the shack that was back behind their house where he would do woodworking, and he would perform sexual acts on me. He would make me touch him. He would touch me. At 9, I don't think I knew that it was wrong. But then my grandfather told me not to tell anyone. You don't want Pop to go to jail, do you? I didn't want him to get in trouble, so I just stayed quiet." And
so I will tell you this. That is like, if this is actually what you would expect, right? That, I don't know if I ever told this story before, just real quick story time. I had a friend that was molested for many years as a child. And there was like 3 of us that were like very super best friend close. And me and the one were still like best friends to this day. The other one just like moved away. Not some like we lost touch a little bit over the years, but not for any reason. But like we still talk on Facebook and stuff. But she would like run if we had to be home at 11 and it was like 5 of me and the other friend, knowing we would be 5 minutes late, would be like, yeah, okay, like we'll be there. Like I'll take the 5 minutes, like the few minutes of getting yelled at by my parents, like it'll be fine. She would like run, and we would like laugh sometimes and be like, look at you, like go get it, like not realizing we come to find out. I was like, oh my God, what pieces of shit we are. But we didn't know. But we come to find out that for every minute she was late, she was abused sexually for hours longer than she would have been if she was on time. So I'm like, what? And here she tells us, she said it wasn't until we were in middle school. 9 years old is middle school, right? It wasn't, well, yeah, right? 9. Well, 6 is usually first grade, 7, 8. So you're talking like 4th or 5th. I think she was in like 5th. But we had like PE, like physical education, and they did the one where they separate the boys and the girls and they talk to you about deodorant and stuff like that. And then they talk to you about, private areas like they, and she said that it wasn't until that one in particular that she realized that everybody else in the class was not going home and doing that with their dads. And I was like, what? And it like hit me, and I'll never forget. I cried for days because I was just like, oh my gosh. But I mean, I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, wow, we were like old, not old, but like 9, 10, like what? So this makes sense that you wouldn't know that it was wrong and that you wouldn't want someone to go get in trouble, which is why not 10 years later, maybe around 15, 16 is when she finally tells her mom. And her mom, thank God, her mom believed her. They waited for him to go to work. And the minute he left for work, they called 911 and they got there as much as they could, got out of there. And he's still in jail to this day. And that was a long time ago. But he didn't get like without parole. So I wonder if, I'm sure that is like torturous for her.
Quote. Now, in the docuseries, The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose, Claude Petrie is asked about this claim, and he denies it outright. He's like, absolutely not. He says, in fact, it was Gypsy who, at around the age of 4 or 5, started trying to touch him inappropriately, and he would have to tell her to stop. This is a slippery slope.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you say?
I don't know.
What do you say? You have a situation where you have Gypsy who's being taught by her mother to lie. And you have a situation where you have a grown man who
is blaming a little girl, though. Right?
Of course, he's going to say he didn't do it. But I will say this. He does open the door by acknowledging that there was some type of inappropriate touching regardless.
And that's how I feel, you guys. He opens the door that there was something inappropriate going on.
Who do you believe? There's really nothing to go off here where you can say one way or the other. If we had previous history from Claude that showed he had done things like this before.
Well, apparently he did. Dee Dee Blanchard said according to Gypsy, Dee Dee told her that her father, Claude, Dee Dee's father, used to take baths with her and molested her.
Yeah, it's hard. You want to believe the victim, and at this point, I'm not just.
So what do you guys think about that? That Dee Dee claimed that the dad, and that's like something very specific. It's not like she claimed that the dad like touched her inappropriately. Like that's very specific, that they used to take baths together. That's very specific.
Saying it even to say the right thing. I tend to believe there's probably some truth to this. And my only tipping point is because Claude is putting out information that, oh yeah, she did try to touch me inappropriately. So he's not outright denying it. He's saying that if anything was touched, it was Gypsy's fault. And that to me is that's what tips the scale for me slightly, is the fact that there's a slight admission of something going on, but I could be completely wrong.
But is it?
What do you guys think about that? And then wait till you hear the next claim. And this one is like knocked me off my socks. Hold on, where is it? They show where are you? Oh, it was somewhere, but anyway, it has to be right here. I hope I didn't pass it. I didn't. Hold on, let's see.
Not true that if a child has been from a young age, sexually abused or mistreated in that way, or like they would do things like that.
Well, who would have been sexually abusing her before Claude?
Well, apparently, I don't know about before Claude, right?
That's my point. Where did she learn that from if it wasn't from Claude?
Well, apparently, according to Gypsy, things got a little weird with her mother later when Gypsy started to get older. Dee Dee would always tell.
This is what I wanted you guys to hear. And I want to know, what in the hell?
Tell everyone that Gypsy was much younger than she actually legally was.
Okay.
And so when Gypsy started growing like pubic hair, she remembers her mother bringing her in the bathtub and like shaving her and calling it her like getting clean time and things like that. We're going to go more in depth into that later, but
okay.
Right. So
we have to, but okay.
So is this something that Dee Dee planted in Gypsy's head about Claude? Is this something that genuinely happened? During the docuseries, when they confronted Claude, then they went back to Gypsy and they were like, well, your grandfather says it never happens. And Gypsy's response was, are you serious?
So you guys, what do you think about this? The one thing that makes me think that there could be something to this, other than the fact that, you know, both of them said that they were younger than what they were. I know for a fact that it's not uncommon for when we see sexual abuse, right? Hi, Ash. Hi, Amanda. That, and Danny and anyone else that came in. Misbehaving's here. Jenny's here. Gutter Spine's here. Look at that. I love you guys. You guys are so good. Sue. Hey, everybody. Lucy. I already said hi to Lucy, but I could say hi again. Anyway, I'll make sure I get to everybody eventually. But what do you think? Hi, Birdie. What do you guys think, though? Like, do you think, is that not abnormal, Angelina? Do you think that's normal? That, you know, the whole part about her when she gets pubic hair, like, oh, that's what I was going to say. It's not abnormal when somebody's being sexually abused, especially a mother-daughter thing, for the mother to claim cleanliness as the reason for why they're doing such behavior. And let me give you one famous example that I didn't even think of until I just said that. But what about even the Menendez brothers, right? The one claims that the mom, when he used to get a bath or whatever, used to come in and do stuff. And again, it's usually not a claim of like full like vaginal S or whatever, but it's usually claims of touching and licking and kissing and all the things. And a lot of the times, the cleanliness thing is something that they go back to. Apparently, I was talking about to this with my daughter, and she said there's a girl on TikTok, I think it is, that she follows, that like is outright talks about her trauma as a survivor of her mother. And she talks about how her mom. So when I heard this today, I got like sick to my stomach, because it literally was what my daughter was telling me the other day. Like, it was, my daughter wasn't, I don't even think it was about this. It was about something totally different. And my daughter was telling me about it. And then today I was like, oh my God, do you remember telling me? I was like, did you say? And she's like, yep, it had to do with cleanliness and being clean. And the mom would say, like, I have to make sure that you taste clean and da da da. And so I don't know. So Gypsy is a pathological liar. I agree with that. Gypsy admits that her mom taught her how to lie. So this is the thing, right? Oh, Birdie, we're watching. Oh, thank you for asking, because I did mention it, but a while ago. We are watching Crime Weekly. These two are awesome. You got to go follow them. They have not only a deep dive, multiple of the case. So they have one just on Dee Dee, like it's like 6 parts. They have another whole series just on. So I haven't seen anything though recently. Now I could be wrong, but I can't wait to hear what they have to say about the new evidence that they've seen. And he's, I believe, an ex-detective, which is so funny, right? Because I like identify with her, like with the red hair, and like she always comes with like the psychological part or whatever, and he comes with the other part, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's me and DT. And then I laugh to myself, and I'm like, I'm just like the way older version. Her mom didn't shave her there. Oh, there's a video where Gypsy had pubic hair. Her doctor notes pubic hair and a couple of reports on physicals. Gypsy shaved her pubic hair the night of 6/9. I know that she did that for Victor or whatever his name is. What's his name? Victor. Her deep dive was way too long ago. Too many new things came out. I don't believe they're still. I bet you once they see the new things, they will be. Right? Think about it. Because people were talking about, she's so cute. People were talking about Gypsy the past few months, and I guess it's because people saw these videos came out, and I hadn't known about the videos yet. So Cuff You was saying that too, that it's not really new. It's new to me, but it's been out for a minute. Oh, so Cuff You, are you saying that it's been out for a year? Because if it's been out for a year, then this might be their updated deep dive. Because what happens is they wind up, and again, I just was watching while I was cooking and stuff. I want to go back and watch the rest of it. But I was watching the one on Gypsy. Like at first I searched for Gypsy. So they came up and I'm like, oh, I love Stephanie or whatever, because she has her own channel too. Not apparently, I'm subscribed to it. But I went on and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I like watched them with something else before. I forget what case it was. So I started watching it, and that's where on the one on Gypsy, and they were talking about like how they were both under the impression that it was like the factitious disorder opposed on another, Then they come back and they do a deep dive on Dee Dee because new evidence. But I didn't realize that this new evidence could have been the evidence that is new to me today. Right? So, oh, thank you. Thank you, Into the Weeds. I love that. Thank you. Barbara's here. Hi, Barb. How you doing? How you doing, Barb? I love Barbara. Yeah, so what do you guys think about this whole, do you think there's a possibility that Dee Dee could have? Because this is another thing, and this is like not necessarily related to them, just something that I teach in class. But when it comes to perpetrators, most perpetrators have been abused themselves. However, most people that have been abused never become perpetrators. So let me say that again. Of all the victims that we have, most do not go on to do anything to anyone else. However, when you look at the small portion of perpetrators, most of them have at some point been victimized themselves. And again, I'm never excusing behavior, you guys. I'm only making connections to help bring awareness to behavioral patterns so that people could stop or see red flags maybe. You know what I mean? Like, I would love it if I heard a story where somebody was like, well, like normally I would have went out with this person for a second time, but after, us all talking in the chat for the past year or whatever it winds up being, that I said no because I recognize this as a red flag. Like, that's all I ever want. And I feel like the only way we do that, and even, let's be honest, you guys, there's a lot of people right now that are here that are